Pound of wings. Okay, you got it? I worked as a cook at a chain restaurant that had a wing night where you could get a pound of wings at a discounted price. We didn't actually weigh the wings, our specs said 8 wings to a pound. 4 drums and 4 flats. One night a table comes in and everyone orders a pound of wings. A little while after the wings go out, the server comes back a little flustered and explains there has been a complaint. Apparently, one of the guys at the table complained that it was obvious that he didn't get a pound, because it would be a huge coincidence if everyone's pounds led to the same number of wings on each plate. He insisted that the server go and weigh these, already discounted, wings to make sure he was getting what he paid for. So, we weighed it. Sure enough, it was not a pound. It was a pound and a half. We tell the server to bring it out and tell him he's getting more than a pound. She says duck no. He paid for a pound, he's going to get what he paid for, and threw 2 of his wings in the garbage and reweighted the food. Still over. Throws another one out. Bang on 1 pound of wings. So, she brings back out his 5 wings and calmly tells the gentleman. Here are your wings, sir. You were right, there was more than a pound there. So, we threw the other ones out. Good catch. When they ordered a second round, he didn't complain that everyone got 8 wings to a pound. Edits, obligatory thank yous to everyone. I've never had a post generate this much discussion or get this much attention, nor have I ever gotten anything like this number of awards. Thank you, kind strangers. On the size of the wings, you can buy 6 to 8 count wings if you shop around a little bit. Like shrimp, for example, wings are sold by their count of pieces per pound. This place made wings, and burgers, their signature items. Yes, they were very large wings, which were then double breaded. On the fact that they ordered a second round, this is not unusual. If you've ever worked at a wing joint, you would know that people will order round after round of wings. Minus the bones, there is not a lot of food there compared to, say, a steak or a chicken breast. On throwing the food out, we got staff meals and no one was terribly interested in eating food that was already pawed over by someone else. Plus, cooks rarely go hungry. There was plenty of fresh food on the line. We certainly were not going to put them on some other customer's plate. Thanks everyone. Glad you all enjoyed this so much. Now to the comments. That reminds me of the bartender story with the whiskey neat, which should have been 1.5 ounces or a shot. The bartender heavy poured, gave him extra for free, and the guy complained saying it looked a little light. Bartender takes out a shot glass, pours the rocks glass into the shot glass, spilling the excess on the bar, puts it back into the glass and wipes up the extra. I would get that a lot when I was a bartender. We used some pretty wide rocks glasses. If I recall correctly, they were 16 ounces Manhattan glasses. So a single neat looked really short. I would always pour pretty heavy to try and mitigate the visuals of it, so when people would complain that I didn't pour enough, I would say, look, if you want me to measure it out exactly, you're gonna be sorely disappointed. Shout out to Angus the bartender who said, duck it, it's New Year's, and gave us a tumbler of Drambuie each instead of a measure. Vague memories of me and my mate dancing in our underwear in the streets for 2 kilometers behind a random guy playing the bagpipes in full Scottish uniform until he yelled at us to go home. Restaurants that include an equal number of drums and flats in each order of wings are heroes. Full stop. I went to a bar once and ordered 6 wings, expecting 3 drums and 3 flats, but no, I got 6 full wings, 3 chickens worth, 6 drums, 6 flats, and 6 of those wingtip things. Once, in the before time, in the long ago, I was traveling for business and, as is my wont, sitting at the bar of a steakhouse. I'd had my wedge salad and my martini and my steak and my glass of red wine, and now it was time for a glass of scotch before hitting the sack. Put in my order, bartender located the bottle, poured out a generous pour. Likely 3 to 4 ounces. Stopped, went to put the bottle back, looked at it for a second, shrugged, and poured me the rest of the bottle. So now, I've got easily 6 ounces of scotch in front of me. I tell that story just to say that, at that point, I had the same thought you probably did when those wings hit your table. On the one hand, I appreciate the generosity, but on the other hand, this is way more than I was intending to sign up for. That's why Buffalo Wild Wings switched back to number, but now they say around 10 per order or whatever. It switched from numbers to vague snack, small, medium, large, and they give you approximate numbers, especially for boneless. I assume this means they actually went back to weight and just aren't saying so, or maybe some volume of a container. Edit, I feel like from everyone's response, it may be regional. I have gone to the same 2 locations in my city for years and it's still the vague sizes. It seems like wings shouldn't be that tough to count, but I suppose that could get tedious. Similar story coming from almost 10 years ago. I was working at a steak and seafood restaurant at the time and we offered a pound of king crab legs for whatever the price was. I honestly can't recall. I worked there for about a year before we got a complaint about them. Some guy was insisting that he didn't get his full pound. We took the order back, reweighed them and they came out to 17 ounces, within our tolerances. We sent the server back out to explain that it was actually an ounce more than advertised. Dude sent it back saying, yeah, I'm sure it is. But I'm sure a lot of that came from the shell. I don't want to pay for what I can't eat and I know it's going to be less weight after you cook it. In comes the r/malicious compliance. I was working seafood and pasta and that night, asked the kitchen lead that night, owner, if it was fine to honor his demand for the cost of shelled meat. He paused, grinned, and said let's give him what he wants. I went to work meticulously shelling 3 pounds of leg clusters after it was steamed. Weighed it and got 20 ounces of meat. The manger approved the extra 4 ounces, walked it out himself, apologized for the hassle, took the original order off the bill, told him it was 20 ounces and let him know there was a small fee for shelling the meat in-house. The customer said that was fine and he appreciated getting what he ordered. After the customer finished his meal and got the check, he was foaming at the mouth. The manager ended up charging him $250, with the extra work fee included. From what I heard he went from super smug to absolutely aghast. I didn't know it would be that much. This is highway robbery, he said. The manager explained how they weren't cheap to buy initially and how part of the cost was deferred by having customers shell it themselves. He ended up paying the bill in full and I got a free order of crab legs and 3 extra shift drinks that night. Man, this brings me back to my days of food service. Malicious compliance is the best way to handle that shit. The best is that free pity dish. Oh God, being a former cook, this brings a huge smile to my face. Way to go for that server. Most servers I've come in contact would never do this. I liked that waitress. She handled that table customer like a champ. Dang tables, always wanting to be precise, very wobbly when they are not. I hope that the patron was sufficient chagrin to leave a good tip. Edited to add, assuming this is in the US, which isn't necessarily a given. Second edit to add, 3 pounds of wings per person, probably the US, even discounting bones. OP replied. Close, America Light. Oh, Canada. Ha. Perfect. I actually had the opposite happen to me once. Got a pound of wings as a delivery order and ended up with 8 very tiny wings. Got out the kitchen scale and it was half a pound. I think they must have had a change in supply and not adjusted their count. Well, now I want chicken wings. Please educate me, what are drums and flats when talking about wings? OP replied. Drums are the stick with a ball that look like the bottom of a chicken leg, drumstick, and flats are the flat ones.